I want to answer a question I get some version of almost every week. How do I get consulting clients without cold outreach? And usually, when someone asks me that, there's something underneath it. They've tried it. Maybe they ran an email or direct message sequence. Maybe they spent a few months sending connection requests and follow ups. And either it didn't work or it did work a little and they hated every minute of it. So here's my answer: you stop trying to reach buyers and you start becoming findable by the ones who are already looking. You build a path that lets the right buyer discover the problem you solve and experience how you think before you ever speak to them. Now, here's the part I really want you to hear: it's not that your cold outreach isn't working because your messaging is off or not dialed in enough. It's simply because it arrives on your calendar instead of the buyer's. And there's a bigger problem underneath that one. By the time somebody has a problem worth solving, they've usually already built a short list without talking to a single person. Think about what that means for a second. The question isn't how to write a better cold email. The question is how to already be on that list when it gets made. Those are completely different problems. And almost all the advice out there is answering the first one: better subject line, tighter opener, more personalization, bigger list. I'm going to show you why none of that touches the actual issue. And more importantly, I'm going to tell you what you do instead on Monday morning, because that's the objection that stops most firm owners cold. Outreach at least tells you what to do with the next hour. Whatever replaces it has to do the same thing, or you'll go right back to the list. So let's start with the rope. Here's why better cold outreach doesn't fix this: you're applying force at the wrong end of the rope. Pushing a rope is the most accurate description of cold outreach I know. You can put enormous force into it, and you get almost no forward motion because the movement only happens when something on the other end pulls. You've felt this. It's the thing where you send 50 messages and you can genuinely feel the effort leaving your body, and nothing on the other end moves at all. So let me lay out what actually has to be true for one cold message to land. The person has to have the problem you solve right now, not last year, not next year. They have to have it badly enough to actually do something about it. They need budget already allocated, and they have to be willing to take that from a complete stranger. That's five things that all have to align by luck. In the week, you happen to hit send. That's not a business development system. That's buying lottery tickets with your mornings. Now, there are three reasons this breaks structurally, and I want to be precise about these because none of them are about you being bad at writing emails. The first one is timing. The timing belongs to you, not to them. You send on Tuesday because Tuesday is when you block the time, but a buyer's problem doesn't surface on your schedule. So the entire method is a bet that your calendar and their crisis happen to intersect. The second one is energy. A cold message is beggar energy by construction. A cold message asks for something before it has earned anything: attention, a reply, 15 minutes. Even a really good one is asking first and delivering second. Now compare that to Dr. Energy, where the buyer shows up already understanding that you can see something they can't. Same person, same expertise, completely different position in the room. The third reason is that it doesn't compound. You send 100 emails, you get two conversations. Next month, you start at zero and you send 100 more. Nothing you built stays built. And that's the difference between spending a morning and investing one. Here's the thing about all three of those: you can't optimize your way out of any of them. A better subject line doesn't change whose calendar the timing belongs to. A warmer opener doesn't change the fact that you're asking before you've given. Those are properties of the method itself, which brings me to the part that's actually changed. For a long time, cold outreach was just inefficient. That's all. It was an expensive way to buy a conversation, but it worked often enough to justify itself. That's not where we are anymore. It's now actively working against the way buying happens. Here's what the research says: buyers spend the overwhelming majority of their research time away from anyone selling to them. Roughly 60% of business buyers now use ChatGPT or Gemini to build out a vendor list before a human being is involved at all. And the average shortlist has narrowed to about two or three names. Think on that for a moment because it's the whole argument. The list gets made during the window where you have no access. Cold outreach is you knocking on the door after the decision has already been narrowed down to two other firms. You're not early, you feel early because for you it's the first contact, but for them, you're arriving at the end of a process you were never part of. And notice what that isn't an argument for. It's not an argument for writing better emails. It's an argument for being findable earlier. Now, I want to say one honest thing here because overclaiming is its own kind of beggar energy. Cold outreach isn't useless. It's the most expensive way to buy a conversation. And it's the only tool available to a firm that hasn't built anything else yet. So if it's all you've got right now, use it, pay your bills. Just don't mistake it for the system because here's what I see happen. Someone runs outreach for 2 years, gets a handful of clients from it, and concludes that outreach works. And it did work in the sense that it produced revenue. But look at what it cost. Every one of those clients required starting from absolute zero, convincing a stranger you're worth 15 minutes, establishing credibility inside the meeting instead of before it. And when you stop sending, it stopped. That's the tell. If the thing stops the day you stop, you don't have a system. You have a job you gave yourself. So, what does the alternative actually look like? What replaces cold outreach is a pull model. And the first thing I have to correct is what that word makes people picture. Because I think the word itself is why most firm owners dismiss this and go straight back to the list. A push model chases opportunities, a pull model attracts them. Pushing is pushing a rope. It's the futility of chasing uninterested prospects who have no urgency. Pulling uses a structured system to bring the right buyers to you, already pre sold on your thinking and your point of view. Now, here's the problem with that word. Most firm owners hear pull and they picture waiting, posting something and hoping. And that's exactly why they dismiss it and go back to the outreach list. Because at least the outreach list feels like doing something. So let me be as clear as I can be. Pull is not passive, it's front loaded. It's the same work. You've just moved it to before the conversation instead of during it. The push model does its persuading inside the meeting. The pull model does the persuading before the meeting exists, which is why the meeting goes so differently. What produces that pull is an opportunity engine. An opportunity engine is a deliberate, repeatable system that aligns your business development with how clients naturally make buying decisions. And it takes the right buyers through a structured path. First, they discover your expertise. Second, they understand the specific problem you solve. Third, they experience how you think before they ever hire you. Fourth, trust builds before the first meeting happens. And fifth, they enter a diagnostic conversation because they're ready. Now, hold that fifth stage up against how a cold conversation starts. A cold meeting opens with you establishing that you're worth listening to. You're spending the first 10 minutes earning the right to the next 10. Stage five opens with the buyer having already decided that on their own time from evidence you left where they were looking. Same conversation, completely different starting position. That gap right there is the entire return on this work. So, what do you actually do on Monday? This is the fair objection, and it's where most people stall out. So, here's the substitute, and it isn't waiting. You cultivate the core 200. The core 200 is the defined set of relationships a consulting firm owner deliberately cultivates to create a steady flow of opportunities. It's a curated list of 50 to 500 high value relationships, clients, collaborators, advocates. And what distinguishes it is depth of cultivation. It is not a broad CRM database. It's a focused relationship asset that works as a predictable source of pull opportunities. Now, read that against a cold list. A cold list is defined by volume. Every contact on it costs the same to reach and returns nothing. The core 200 is defined by depth. Every contact on it gets more valuable the longer you cultivate it. So you're not choosing between cold outreach and sitting still. You're choosing between contacting 500 strangers and deepening 100 relationships that already have a reason to take your call. And that reframes the whole Monday morning problem. That hour you are going to spend on a cold sequence goes into two things instead: making something that demonstrates how you think and putting it in front of the people already on your list. The first one builds stages 1 through 4. The second one makes it actually reach somebody. One more piece to shorten the distance between they trust you and they've paid you. There's the wedge. A low risk first engagement a buyer can say yes to without committing to a six-figure program. It establishes credibility through actual work rather than a pitch. That's the whole substitution. It's not less activity, it's different activity aimed at the end of the rope that actually moves. Let me be clear, the Core 200 is not a social media strategy. Some of the strongest ones I've seen live entirely in a notebook and a calendar. So here's where I'd leave you. Don't stop the outreach that's paying your bills this quarter. That would be bad advice. Take 1 hour a week off that block, one, and put it into being findable earlier. Outreach funds this quarter, the engine funds every quarter after it. Join us for the Opportunity Engine Intensive, where we start building your system. We're starting in a few days. The link is in the notes.